Welcome to our session on SAP SuccessFactors first half 2022 release highlights for platform. My name is Shannon Ippolito and I work in Rising's managed services team.
My name is Tim McAlpine and I work in the Center of Excellence lead for the operations side.
Excellent. All right, well, let's just go ahead and get started. So again, we are going to be discussing the platform items, and platform, again, right, is the base of your SuccessFactors system. And it kind of has, the miscellaneous stuff from the release and the really ones that impact all clients for the most part. Some things are a little module specific, but really, right, it's that all-encompassing system release items that are there. So Tim, definitely, I think the big thing that we need to talk about is the reimagined homepage that SuccessFactors is rolling out for all the customers.
Yeah, definitely. And the main thing about that is it's becoming a forced release. And I think it was June 24th.
Yes, for the production instances, right? So we definitely, obviously, you as clients and customers have been receiving tons of communication from SAP on this, and we want to ensure also that everyone really is taking a look at it. If you haven't yet enabled it in a test instance, now is definitely the time to do that. You want to be going in, testing it, because there is a huge change management to this. It's a very different look and feel to the legacy homepage. And you want to ensure you're in control of those communications to your organization about this change that's coming.
Exactly. And there's not a lot of time. It feels like a really far away June, but it's halfway through April already and we're running out of time. So the sooner this gets enabled in your instance and tested completely around what processes could potentially change, what documentation and training, job aids, things like that need to be updated in order to reflect this new thing, this new homepage, as well as branding and just separating it out into various roles and things like that. There is a fair amount of work that could potentially go into getting this up to speed for an instance. So it's definitely something you want to do now and be prepared for when it goes live.
Exactly. And we've had many customers that have already successfully gone live and rolled it out and have received, good feedback from their employees for it. So definitely nothing to be afraid of now. Of course, there's still, little things here and there, minor things that may not be what you expect it to be, but SAP is taking customer feedback on this very seriously. If you haven't already known and haven't been out on the customer community site, they are holding regular office hours for the homepage. They're offering, where you can join the sessions to play with it, ask your questions, ask your concerns. And they are not, I've been joining these office hours and they are taking feedback and writing down notes and following up on any SAP tickets that you may have submitted. They're taking those ticket numbers and everything like that. So definitely, continue to provide that feedback you have. But I think with this release, let's talk about some of the things that came out with this release for the new homepage. One of the big area was around those custom cards. So we had our custom tiles and legacy. There was some issues, from the functionality in the new homepage of these cards, as they are now called. But one of them that is the huge win is that the size, when it first rolled out, was really big. So now they're offering with this release, you can have the large full size, you can have a smaller size, which is half the size, or you can have now the icon, like we saw in the legacy tiles. You have your icon option as well. So it's just a little square with an icon you choose from the library. So that was a huge improvement. And with those custom cards, you can now display up to 16 on the page. Before we had 12. So now you can have 16. And then the other thing around the cards is the role-based permission. Your role-based permission groups and roles can be utilized within the card to display the card to certain groups. You don't have to build the dynamic group within the card itself. A good example is, let's say you want a card just for your managers. If you already have an existing manager RPB role, you can just use that in your card. It's sometimes what our options are in those dynamic groups within those cards is extremely limited to what you can filter on. So this improvement of being able to use your role-based permissions already is, I think, a huge win for this.
Yeah, it definitely makes it easier to move into this framework coming from the old homepage as well, with that functionality enabled.
Exactly. Just a few additional highlights too is that they have added a few more quick actions. Those are the cards that are at the top. The big one being view tile reports. So any UCalc or dashboard tiles that you were utilizing in legacy are moved into this. So when you click on the view tile reports, a new window will pop up with all of those dashboards on there. And all of your legacy ones were migrated over automatically. There's no additional work you would have to do for that. The one thing I would caution you if you haven't looked at it yet is that they literally brought all of those dashboards and UCalc tiles over. So if you had some that were disabled in your legacy homepage, they came over. So you may want to go through the list and just make sure and maybe, delete out those ones you don't want to have displayed anymore. And then a few of the other quick action cards are the candidate talent pools, and the learning admin now is on the quick action. So for those learning admins, you can just use that quick action. And then view company documents was also brought over. And I don't think a lot of people use that company documents link. I think that needs to be utilized more. It's a good place to store, your company documents there. Instead of having to create and waste one of your custom cards, you may want to look into using that now that it's a quick action.
Yeah, it just goes to show the feedback that they're receiving, that they are improving on this from release to release. And it is at a point where it can successfully go as a forced update. So it's definitely something that is now mature enough to push out to everyone.
Absolutely. So I think that's the big thing around the homepage. So Tim, what are some other things that you've seen in this release regarding platform?
So in the same vein around sort of forced updates is one of them is the next gen admin. So there are still a lot of clients that are still using the one admin portal where you go into the admin tools and you have it sectioned out by type of tool. That it will be going away and will be pushed out I think in the same time frame as the homepage, and will also include for new users moving into that admin portal the default activation of the action search. So it's definitely something that goes hand in hand. So you don't, as part of the new next gen admin, a lot of clients are already using it. For myself, I barely go into admin tools anymore. I use the action search for everything, and so pushing the new framework for the admin area that focuses more on at a glance administration tasks, utilizes more of the admin alerts, any of the reporting that goes with the admin, less focus on the tools themselves because you use the search for that. You still have your favorite lists and stuff like that you can access, but it's more focused on an administration portal rather than just showing you a list of what an admin can do or what you have access to. So it's moving towards that at a glance sort of viewpoint, and also making sure that you utilize that action search as well for just about everything you can do in the system can be accessed at some point through the action search in some fashion.
Yes. And you can manage that action search as well, right? So you can actually put in keywords because again, it's not just for admins to search for something, it's for your end users to utilize as well. You want to give somebody an increase, you want to do someone's performance review if they're not quite sure, maybe a new user or such. There's a lot of default keywords that are in there for the action search, but you as an admin can go in and create your own too to help the user find what they're looking for.
And it's also a lot of the keyword searches and stuff like that is all linked into what you actually have permission for naturally. So if you're within Employee Central and you have access to administer time for somebody, that actually comes up as a keyword search as soon as you put it into the action search. So you can utilize it directly from there without having to go through to the employee, clicking on the link. You can do it all through that search. So there's definitely something that people need to utilize more. And in conjunction with the next admin update, it's going to become more and more of a focus.
Absolutely.
One of the other things that we saw in some of these updates is the more utilization of the scheduled job manager. So previously in older versions of SuccessFactors, a lot of this sort of job-based work was all done in provisioning, and now they're sort of moving it all through the UI to give the end client a lot more visibility and control over those jobs as well. So when you're looking at this from an administrative standpoint, you can see those jobs running, you can see any effect it has, any of the synchronization jobs for a lot of your data model interactions, as well as your imports and exports for employee data, as well as MDF data. So it allows more visibility for the administration of the system itself without having to have that provisioning access that an implementation partner would normally have. So it's definitely something that people need to take a look at, make sure that it makes sense, and just to test it out.
And another great feature of that too is that if you are familiar with monitor jobs, right, where we would go and look if you did an employee import, for example, and you might see some other things there. But with the scheduled jobs manager is that you can filter. So you have filter ability in there too. So you're not just looking at a very long list of jobs, some that may not make sense to the end user, the admin that's looking at it, but you can also filter. So I like that feature as well, because I know when I personally either have to look at provisioning or I have to look at monitor job, like you scroll through all the pages, because depending upon what's in there. So filtering is really nice too. All right. Let's see. Another exciting thing that I think a lot of end users who are really running audit reports out of their system for their compliance purposes is the change audit and read audit reports. Currently today, those who know, you could only run it for a 7-day time period, and only for one user if you're running like a personal report. And they're now updating that to be 30 days. Very excited about that. And then up to 10 users. So the bigger one really is changing that from 7-day time frame to a 30-day time frame. You know, if you're running a monthly audit, for example, you would have to run that report like 4 times to grab, 4 weeks worth of data. Now you just have to run one. So
yeah, it definitely saves a lot of time, and it's a lot more in line with a lot of compliance reporting that clients are currently doing, especially around that audit. Being able to do that for such a larger time frame is definitely a big win for that feature.
Very rarely does somebody ask for an audit on the last week or so, right? It's usually monthly or quarterly is really what people are running them for. So yeah, this is definitely a huge win. It's the small things that really seem to get us more excited than the bigger things.
Yeah, it has a big impact though.
It does. All right, what else is out there?
One of the things that is constantly sort of evolving as it goes is the ability for end users to be able to enable their check tool. So what this tool does is it just provides a sort of a number of checks that are cross-module. They're multiple modules are included in the checks themselves. So any module you have activated in the system will have a set of checks that are there, and they check a lot of different things, from role-based permissions functionality to make sure that that's working the way it's supposed to orphaned foundation data within Employee Central, to candidates within onboarding and recruiting. It runs the gamut across all of the modules and gives you a sort of at a glance look at how your system is performing. If there's any issues that would need to be addressed from an administrative nature, some of these can include also stalled workflows and things like that, or inactive managers, things that could potentially affect your day-to-day business. And it's something that they're constantly improving. And as part of this release, they've added a number of checks to that check tool. And they've also tried to incorporate it in as part of the instance refresh as well. So it's definitely becoming more and more focused. And it's definitely something that we encourage all clients to run on a regular basis every 1 or 2 months, not just with the updates, but just to get an overall view of how the system is performing itself, and making sure that you're keeping up to date with any issues that may not be readily seen on when you're performing some of these tasks.
Absolutely. Yeah. And again, I am sometimes surprised when I am talking to customers who don't even know that it is there, that it's available. So definitely something you should look at. And the other thing with that is that if there is an error in your check tool and you're not quite sure how to resolve it, you can download the log. And then if you don't have a partner that you work with, like one of us, that you can actually submit that directly to SAP support and attach your log to it so that they can see those, issues and can understand what's happening and then help you from there to resolve them. So that's another great piece of that check tool too.
Yep, definitely. The last big thing that we wanted to sort of cover today was around the organizational chart visibility. One of the features that they've added in is the ability to customize the order of your direct reports within the organizational structure itself. So when you're looking at this from a visualization standpoint, you're able to enable this feature and then by user determine what order on the org chart that those direct reports will appear. And this will support things usually for executive reports and things like that, and just visibility within the system, especially when you've got groupings of direct reports that aren't necessarily able to be visualized within the system easily when it's just reporting to the same manager.
Yep. It's nice to see some improvements also just in the org chart area, right? We haven't seen really much come of that. So I think this is a nice beginning for hopefully some more features to come through with that.
Yeah, so those are the main sort of features. There are a lot of other smaller updates that may not necessarily be relevant to all clients, but will be very specific to certain aspects within the system. So there are some updates to business rules where you're able to generate 32 character IDs. It's not necessarily going to be for everybody's use, but it's definitely improvements that have been made to the framework that will be very specific for a certain subset of users that are using this, that will need this functionality, but not necessarily something you would want to restructure your rule setup in order to utilize, and things of that nature.
Yep, definitely. And also, some other technical things around APIs and OData and things like that, you may want to have your technical resources just kind of glance over and just see if there's any impacts or new things that came out that would be good for that. But great. All right. Well, I think that, covered again, highlights, again, the biggest thing I think right now, really what everyone is talking about is the new Reimagined homepage. Again, definitely make sure you're working on that and rolling that out before you're forced to. No one wants to wake up on a Monday morning and see a completely different page that you had no input in. But yeah, I think that's awesome. So thank you very much, everyone. Appreciate your time and have a great day.